Firstly, a bit of context for our passage today. Now, today's passage is colloquially known as the Great Commission, which seems like a pretty big task, and I'll dive more into some of the details later. But it's pretty incredible, right? See, after Jesus had done all this incredible stuff, he rose again, right? Not only, he did so many incredible miracles, like feeding the 5,000 and feeding the 4,000, walking on water, raising the dead. There was so much. And then to top it all off, not only did he pay the ultimate price, but he raised to life again. That's pretty incredible. And then after that, he actually spent quality time with his disciples for quite a long time, meeting with all the needs, comforting them and showing them that there was more to come. And so this moment with his disciples, with the 11 at the time, was the last thing he said before going up to heaven. And this Great Commission we can also see mentioned in Mark 16 verse 15. And while this commission, this command was originally given to these 11 disciples, I believe it still holds true for us today, those who call God Father. And so, yes, our title today for this passage, this sermon, is The Great Commission. So my 3 points, I'll give you a little heads up. I've got a bit of teacher vibe in me. I've been training to become an education assistant, so I've got to pull the teacher card sometimes. Our 3 points today, if you're taking notes, or if you open the church app, you've got the notes there to work with as well. Our first point is formed. Now, since we're talking about a commission, I know it's a bit of a foreign word. I feel like there's a lot of Christianese we throw out there. So let me explain it. What is the commission? Well, Oxford Dictionary defines it as this. It's an instruction or a command or role specifically given to a person or a group. In this case, it was definitely given to a group. Because the thing is, right, I see so many people see this commission and see it as a personal challenge that they're supposed to take on everything. Okay, it's your job. You have to do the baptizing. You have to do the teaching. You have to bring them from not knowing Jesus to a salvation, and then you have to keep on discipling. It's your responsibility to do everything. And then, Sunday church is a praise report time where you just get to brag about all the good things you've done in the week. But it's more than that, isn't it? When Jesus said, therefore go, he said it to a group. He didn't pull Peter aside privately or ask John to stay behind for a solo project. It was like, okay, this is just your challenge, and then I'm going to give a different one for you, and okay, different one for you. No, he gathered his disciples together and gave them a charge, something to work for together. See, church, what we are right now is not just this building, right? It's the community, it's the people. So this place isn't just a gathering for worship, as wonderful as it is, and as worthy as he is to receive worship, right? It is designed to be a community on mission. And we need to remember that we are a team, not freelancers. And, as I mentioned earlier, very happy to be married. But some of the interesting things, I love the way that churches bring God into ceremonies, right? It's not just that we were married legally, which, is helpful for visas and all that, but we were married before God. And so when we were getting married, the words that Pastor Bin spoke during the ceremony really touched me. Of course, we've got the traditional questions that Pastor Bin asked towards Gabby and myself, or to the parents. And we responded, right? We said, yes, I do. And the parents said, yes, we both do. But he also turned to the guests that were there, or 50 to 60 of them, and he asked the question of them, do you support their commitment to each other? And I find that very key. See, yes, marriage is two people coming together, but it is also a commitment carried by the community, knowing that there is support, there is backing. I love, how many times have we had families come together in this church and children being born into the world, and seeing the way that as a church we come together. When there's baby dedications, I love the same question that goes out to the community that are watching. Do you commit to helping support this family raise this child? And the number of people, I can't tell you how many Tupperwares that Eli had to try and return after or the community came together to bless them for food. They were drowning in leftovers. They could have fed another 4 families with their leftovers from all the food. And that was from you guys as a church coming together to bless their family. And I love that. See, community is so much more than just, say hi to your neighbor, right? As wonderful as it is to have a friend. But a friend is proven in trial. And I see that in this way this church comes together. So I encourage you to keep on doing what you're already doing. You are so appreciated as a church. And so when it comes to this idea of the commission, it's the same thing, right? We are called to live out our faith and carry out this mission as a united body. Not just as spectators or isolated believers, but a body moving as one. And there is merit to taking time alone, There is merit in your personal relationship with God. But it's not an either-or situation. God is not calling you to only be following someone else and doing only what other people tell you, or just doing your own thing and following only what you think God is telling you. But it's about in the community we come together and strengthen each other. It's not one or the other, but both. So the question that I'm asking is not just, am I called? Of course you're called. God has given you the Great Commission as well. The question is this: how do I live out this call in the context of the church, of the body of Christ? And personally, I've benefited from this. I've always loved being connected to a community from a young age. My parents, they fostered over 17 children over the years. Being the firstborn, I got to be there with my parents through the journey. We ended up even adopting about 5 or 6. I think we're still in the process of adopting one more, right? And so from a young age, community was very key and something I got to benefit from. As much as I was called to serve, being the oldest, I got to be blessed too. And then for me, that connection of community kept going. I had the pleasure of being a volunteer with YWAM for about 14 years. And if you're not familiar with YWAM, it's, maybe in some other organizations, it's like, a job where you rock up on Monday and you go home at the end of the day and you have your own life. And that's Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, 40 hours. YWAM's a little different, see? You eat, sleep, work, everything is together. Now, it depends on where you're living. Accommodation might be tight. You might have 5 or 6 housemates. You might share a bunk bed well into your 40s, and that's not comfortable for everyone. I know it was a learning curve for me, getting to sharing a room with people who are 20 years my junior or senior. And so getting used to that. And then not only having the same house as my fellow missionaries, we Monday to Friday, but it wasn't just that. Sometimes we had things in the evening. We had weekends. If someone was fundraising for a trip to Africa, they might need extra help at the car wash, that we would come and help them. And so YWAM, one of the best things about it is that it is a living community. It's not just somewhere you rock up, but it's somewhere lifestyle. And so I've really, really been blessed by that. And I'm reminded of the verse in Proverbs with iron sharpens iron, right? And so I know that for myself, it wasn't always easy, but the blessing was there. And I'm very blessed that as soon as I left YWAM, I got to be part of your community here, this church here. There was a few transition months, but then I really felt so accepted, and the pleasure of being part of the youth and kids community as well. So it wasn't just, getting to know my wonderful Connect group at the first time with Simon and the wonderful dads in that group. At the time was mostly 20 years younger than everyone else, but lovely community. And again, it's not about being with people your own age, right? It's about connecting. And so I really felt that I was so connected. I was not left to figure out church by myself, but I was invited in to people's homes, to meals on the streets at restaurants and all that. And I do remember fondly my first few serving opportunities was with the welcome team. Some wonderful people there, so shout out to them for making me feel at home too. Now, after talking about myself a bit, I want to challenge you. As much as a blessing it is to benefit from being part of the body, what are you giving back? Because I know for myself, first few months in YWAM and in Sonlife, whenever there's a transition, yes, it absolutely is a time to receive. It's not that we want to immediately put you to work. We don't expect people to walk off the street and before they've even had time to get a free cup of coffee, we're like, what service team would you like to join, right? That's not how we roll. We want to make you feel like you belong. And part of that is knowing you're loved regardless of where you're at, what team you're serving in. You don't have to be part of this team up here to receive love, right? But there is such a blessing that comes from serving. And so my question then is, are you connected or are you just living on the fringe? Are you willing to be part of the community? Are you trying to follow Jesus in isolation? Or have you embraced the community he's placed you in? Well, I know when it comes to personalities, not everyone's going to work well with everyone, right? There's always going to be some people that are a little easier to get along with. And maybe for extroverts, that's a little less of a problem. You're friends with everyone, right? There's always something to relate over or some community that's like, oh, this is fantastic. I will happily spend like 8 hours hanging out at a friend's place, or I'll go to both services. I'll go to all the Bible studies and all the connect groups and all that. But maybe my question for you is not so much, are you part of a community, but what kind of community are you part of? See, with an extrovert, right, you're getting energy from being around people, but it's about that quality, not just about quantity, right? And so when it comes to connection, see, if you're hanging out with someone, you become like them. And so my extrovert friends here, if you're hanging out with the wrong people, I'm telling you, you're going to start to pick up some bad habits. Yes, you can be an influence, and so don't lose contact with those communities. Like, be a people of faith in that community that doesn't know God as well. But you've got to plug into a community where you're being fed as well. So it's not to say that you have to exclusively hang out with Christians all the time, but have a Christian community where you can be drawing a new life from, and you're drawing that from Jesus in the center of that community. Now I have a message for my introverts. Oh, this is a big challenge, isn't it, right? Maybe all you can manage on a weekend is coming at 10 o'clock and leaving 11:30. Now, that for some of you, that's already like enough. And maybe for some of you, big churches aren't really your thing. Like, you kind of feel lost in the crowd, and it's too many people saying you don't want to be known too much. Well, I've got good news for you. There's connect groups, and we have such a wonderful small community. And the challenge may be that you're not going to get to know everyone, or you're worried that everyone's going to know too much about you. I know for myself, it's a blessing and a curse in that sense, right? Everyone knows my name, and I don't know all of your names. But for the introverts here, know that when you are willing to be known, trust that your community is going to know how to love you best. As you get to be yourself, trust that those around you are going to know that they aren't going to just rock up at your house at like 9 p.m. and hang out till the morning. They're going to know when your bedtime is, when your energies are low, and how to help you. But as you are willing to be known, it's then they can love you properly. If you're putting on that mask and pretending everything's all right when things aren't, they can't love you like you're needing that love, right? And so my encouragement for the introverts, maybe it's only a few people that you can feel close and comfortable with. You don't have to open up your entire soul to the entire church, right? But find the few that know you well and be that community there. Think of it this way, and I have to say, I love doing this bit of research. I love looking up things, reading videos, and so when I stumbled across this artist, I think it was a couple of years ago, wow, some fantastic art. So think of it this way. Now, my wife and I, we love puzzles, we love building things. And so like a puzzle piece, you were made for community. Now, the world might say, in a similar belief to soulmates, right? A lot of people believe in a soulmate, like you're a puzzle piece meant for only one specific puzzle. And there is, if you can't find that puzzle, well, I guess, you'll just be lonely forever. But this artist proved everyone wrong. This artist called Tim Klein. You might be like a puzzle piece that maybe it feels like you're only meant for one community. But have a look at this. This guy combines 2 to 3 puzzles with the same piece cut of the shapes, right? And made some incredible artwork. You see, he's got the train and the horse there combined. He's got the mountains and the house, or the peacock and the maze. And this is only a handful of hundreds of artworks he's created by combining puzzle pieces together. So maybe you're feeling like, I've got to find the perfect church. I've got to find where everyone is exactly like me, where everyone's got that same understanding of like sushi is the best food, and you know what, if you like Italian, I'm sorry, I can't handle that. Oh no, right? Or maybe you're like, I need a church with like all young people. I don't know if I'm going to feel comfortable in a church where there's kids running around. I don't know if I can handle children, right? And so maybe you're looking for that perfect church in your mind, that perfect puzzle where you're like, I'm going to fit exactly here. I'm here to tell you, there is no perfect fit. Yes, you are like a puzzle piece, but I dare you to find a place where you may not think you're going to fit in, but you'll be surprised where God finds you find community in God. And so my challenge for you today, if you call Sonlife home, let yourself be formed into the body. And so maybe for some of you that is to join a CG. Maybe that's for you joining a serve team. Maybe for you that's just being willing to go out for lunch. Don't rush home immediately afterwards. Hang out, have a cuppa. Have a friend over to your house if you're feeling bold and courageous in that extrovert power and you want to have more people over at your house than you know how to handle, right? Only standing room only, right? But in each and all of your ways, there's different steps you can take. If you call Sonlife home, really call it home, not just a house to meet at a place on a Sunday, but a regular community you can be part of. Don't do mission alone. My second point is this: function. Here's where we get to the meat of, I'd say, today's message. What does it look like? I think Joy gave us a great example of what it can look like, where evangelism is about finding people that you can have that conversation with, that connection. It's about meeting needs of people feeling lonely, of sharing a truth maybe they haven't had a chance to hear before. So as I share in this point, I want to give you some ways that you can actually make faith, not just an internal part of you, but an external part of you in the way that you talk and walk and live in your everyday life. I might even give some book recommendations afterward if you come find me, some very fantastic book stuff. It's not just missionaries who are missional, right? We can all be missional. So, if we look at the Great Commission, Jesus said, right, make disciples. How do we do that? What does it look like? So the text gives us 2 directions. It says, baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit. And the second, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. So I want to look at these 2 points and break them down even more to explain how we function, what's our role in disciple making. And again, this is for everyone. There is no special calling that only a special few can do this. Whether you're in SK, in year 2, or you're retired, and all the way in between, right? There is no hard, fast, like, okay, if you're this specific type of person, you can't do it. This is for all of you. In essence, Jesus is commissioning us to firstly introduce people to the full nature and character of God. So many people, they don't know who God is, or they believe a lie. Like, I'll talk with people about God, and they're like, I don't like God, I don't like... It's like, well, tell me about the God you don't believe in. And it's like, after they explain, it's like, oh, yeah, I don't believe in that God either. And they might be surprised to see what God is actually like. When you take the time and not just take their rejection as immediate, like, oh, they don't want to talk about it, I'm going to walk away, find someone else. Sometimes they don't even know the God they don't believe in. They're saying no to a God that doesn't even exist. And so that moment of open conversation to share the truth with people in love. The Trinity in its completeness, it may be confusing, but they need to know the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. All are important. So many people look at God as just the Old Testament one, or they're like, oh, I like Jesus, or did Jesus even exist? I don't know, good guy, right? They don't believe Jesus was God, or there's all these misinformation out there that people aren't sure what to believe in, and so they haven't gone any further to study it. But through a simple conversation, through a simple relationship, you can introduce them to God. And so the second, talking about teaching, right? This is it. To talk the talk and walk the walk, and showing how to follow God's commands. See, so much of life is about the long-term relationship. I know many people in this church have family and friends they've known for years who've never accepted Jesus as their Savior. And so for some people, they may have had that one conversation, another conversation, right? But sometimes the thing that pushes them over to faith is seeing you walk out your life day by day by day, committed and unwavering through the ups and downs. You know, God is great when it seems like it's easy to have faith, right? When God is bringing good things in your life, when you have life full of blessing. But sometimes it's in those Job moments when life is terrible and you still hold on. That can be some of the most powerful testimonies out there. So not just the words you speak in that short conversation, it is the way you live your life that is powerful. And so the Great Commission isn't just about sharing the gospel with someone and then walking away thinking job done. Now, I won't discount that. Do that as well, right? But be committed to a relationship with someone because it's a long-term process as well. It's discipleship is commitment. So I want to show you a bit of a tool to help us understand a journey towards faith. It's something called the Engel scale, created by James F. Engel from his book, What's Gone Wrong with the Harvest. And so if we pull that up on screen, I'd love to show you guys a bit more. Now, here's a surprising thing. I don't think it's a very common understanding that when you have someone who doesn't believe, it's like, oh, you're a non-Christian or you're a Christian, right? That's it, right? But there's so many more steps that now, whether you see all these steps, sometimes someone might jump up 5 at once, right? It's not like every few months is another step. For some people, this is all one day. I've heard of people who were like the eunuch that Philip got to share with, right? They went with not understanding to being baptized to sharing the gospel all within a day. For some people, it is all of that at once. But for some people, this is years. Or like the first 5 points will be one day, and then they won't make that final choice until they're literally on their deathbed. But knowing that there is progression. And so, while many of us, I'm sure, want to see someone accept Jesus, all these other steps are just as vital. And if you're helping someone take just one more step closer to Jesus, like Joyce said, right, it's about obedience. See, success and obedience is not about making someone cross that final step and being like, yes, there's another statistic, I've done good. That's not how it's measured. No, success is measured in obedience. And so all these steps are just as important as that final step if you're bringing someone closer to God through your words and through your life. So remember, discipleship is a commitment. And if you're sharing God or Jesus with someone you love, don't despair that it doesn't happen overnight. Their salvation is not on your shoulders. Let me share a scripture from 1 Corinthians 3:6. This is a letter that is a very great encouragement to us as well. Paul says here, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. See, our job is to sow the seed. And you know, there's an effort we can make when it comes to creating good soil around us. We can be an influence on their life for good. But ultimately, God is the one who makes that faith grow. So I want to share a bit more about my time in YWAM. Mostly YWAM is known for their short-term mission trips. A lot of schools that YWAM runs are 6-month schools with 12 weeks of training, or 3 months, and then 12 weeks of traveling overseas somewhere. But I've also had the pleasure of working with people year after year. For me, it was working with the youth ministry. We did 3 camps a year. So some of the youth I'd see for like a maximum 2 weeks every year. That'd be it. But during these camps, for me, I would often be leading the small group for the boys. And we'd be having quiet times in the morning and small groups reflecting on the message. And it was that consistency year after year. It's 2 weeks of a year. That's not that much investment. The rest of the year, I wouldn't even have any idea what's going on in their life. But something that really encouraged me this last a few weeks ago in July, I went just for 1 day to help in the kitchen. And I was surprised when I overheard some of the people sharing. They were saying that they're asking their boys who are in their final years of high school. It's like, oh yeah, what was one of the first times you had a moment with God where you really felt God was real? It's like, oh yeah, it was one of my first winter camps, and I remember David sharing in our small groups, and it was like boy after boy, almost men, hey, with being 18, 17, right? And there's so many of them who were sharing with their group leader at the time that their first moments with God when they were 13 and 14 at these first years of camp was me. And I would say I don't feel like I did anything super extraordinary, but I was there. And so seeing the power of just longevity in relationship was something really incredible and such a blessing to be reminded of that. So oftentimes you won't know the fruit of your labor, but sometimes you will hear and know that even if you never hear, God is still using you, and you have done, you might be surprised by what you get thanked for in heaven one day when God says, well done. What did I even do? And God will surprise you with all that you've actually been part of. It's incredible. So living life with people and just being your honest, true to God's self can be such a powerful witness. Not hiding your spiritual side, right? Being bold, let people know you're a Christian. It's a risk, right? Because if you mess up, people might assume that all Christians are like that. They might assume God's like that. It is a risk, but it is worth it to let them know where your faith stands. You don't have to be like, oh yeah, what did you do on Sunday? Oh, hang out with friends. Let them know you went to church. Be bold. And you don't have to shove it down their throat and preach and try to convince every person and argue. No, but live life in love. So my question for you, coming back to it, Sonlife Church, do you have anyone in your life you would love to see walking with God? Maybe it's a family member, child, parent, or sibling. Maybe it's a colleague at work or a childhood friend. Don't give up. Let your light shine. Let them see Christ in you. Be bold in your words and invite them to church one day. I reckon you might be surprised what the power of community when they realize that it's not just one friend that they have loving them. Suddenly they have a whole community who's backing and supporting them. My final point is this: fearless. Now, if we look back at the Great Commission, it's a pretty big task. According to the website Joshua Project, these guys have been tracking how the gospel's going. There's still over 7,000 unreached people groups. In the last 2,000 years or so, there have been about 10,000 people groups who have at least had some gospel message preached to them. But this call to make disciples of all nations and teach them to observe all that I've commanded you, it's massive. But look at what Jesus says, but before and after this command of therefore go. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. And secondly, he says, behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. This authority is not some small thing. As I said before, Jesus did great miracles before he died. So what was the difference after he was resurrected? Turn with me to Revelation 1:18. I am the living one. I died, but look, I'm alive forever, and I hold the keys of death and the grave. When Jesus was resurrected, it wasn't just about being raised from the dead like the other people. He'd done that before, right? He had victory and authority over death itself. So yes, our mission ahead in that sense is quite big. But look, another favorite verse of mine in Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. How incredible is God in that promise? And I'll tell you, I've had to battle being afraid. I was not a comfortable person. I think more ambivert than pure introvert, but still. I mean, I've had some embarrassing moments. I think some of you know I can do a mean mouth trumpet. Imagine doing that in front of a whole congregation of Filipino church for an entire song. 10,000 Reasons, and I think I did it once in India, once in the Philippines, and it's an entire song, mouth trumpet solo. That is not easy, but God is with me even in that. So my questions, coming back to that, are you holding back from missions out of fear? What would you do if you truly believed Jesus was with you? Courage doesn't come from our ability, it comes from his authority. We are strong because he is with us. And so looking back at our 3 points, right? We are formed together. We are one body. We can do this. This task is not too big. You can be a functioning member. You are called to make a difference. And fearless. We go with Jesus' authority and his presence. So that, the world doesn't need a church that's just a spectating church, one that's passive or burned out. It's not about just being like, okay, someone else will take care of it. Nor is it, I have to do everything myself. The world needs a church that is formed, function, and fearless. So here's my final challenge for you. Firstly, for some of you, the challenge is be part of a community. If you call Sonlife Church home, I challenge you, come here every Sunday. Be willing to be known. Speak and let your needs be known as well. Be willing to let people know how they can pray for you. Are you willing to be bold in your faith? To live life and let people know, hey, I'm a Christian, and this is what it means in my life. Are you living your life without fear, knowing that Jesus is truly with you? In this church, we really believe in the power of prayer. And as I've been saying, right, we've got to let people know what's going on. So if you resonate with these points that I've made today, if there's an issue in your life where you need a community to belong to, where you need purpose, you feel like you're purposelessness and you're kind of floating, unsure what you should do, or maybe fear has just got you holed up and tight and wrapped up and you don't know how you can even take a step out of bed in the morning, we would love to pray for you. And as I close in prayer and as the worship team continues to play, if you would like prayer, I invite you to come up. We'll have some people here who can pray for you. And, I pray that this wouldn't be the only opportunity where you let someone know how they can pray for you. My encouragement, if you have a friend who brought you here, or you know someone here, or you see someone wearing one of these green shirts and the white shirts, or one of these, youth ones either, let someone know what's going on. I know that it's not just up here that we would like to pray, but we'd like to pray for you out there, to be with you in the midweek. So why don't I close in prayer right now? God, just thank you so much that you are a God who is with us and for us. You are the God who's there in front. You're the God who's there behind. You surround us with your presence. And so, I just pray for more of you in our lives, that we would be bold, we would be fearless, and that it truly can only come when we're connected. So pray that we would know ultimately that we are connected to you. As the vine and branches, we don't get that power just from doing life by ourselves, but from looking from a distance. We don't just bear fruit by being unconnected, and it's got to be connected to you, God. And so just pray for new life and new hope for this church community. And that you'll continue to grow us, not for numbers' sake, but so we can see more and more people come to a knowledge and a saving grace. That we can come into relationship and family with you, God. Amen.